You don't deserve more just because. That's not the way it works. You're going to have kind of an eternal motivation. It's always lighting your fire, okay? Because you always believe that there's just something more for you, and all you have to do is go and get it. Your life is changed by experiences, okay? Not by programs, by experiences. Motivation is something that is a struggle for many people. When we talk about maintaining motivation, that can be difficult. In the beginning, when you're excited about an idea or you're excited about a particular endeavor, the motivation is high and it's easy to get started. But motivation is something that tends to wane over time if you don't have something driving you to stay consistent and stay committed, right? And so motivation definitely has its value. I always say that commitment is more important than motivation, but we're going to be talking about motivation today because it does have its value. I'm going to give you one big idea that I think you can carry with you that will help you to stay motivated in your life. Okay. So, first, let me just say that I am Mark Johnson, the founder of Bounce Pep, bringing you ideas for a fit and flourishing future. I'm also the youngest son of Bill Johnson, and I want you to leave your questions and comments. Anything that you want to say to me, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. And a lot of times I do respond. And of course, if I say something that you like, go ahead and hit the like button and all of that good stuff. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. With all that said, I want to jump right into this. This is going to be a good little talk here, and I have a very important message for you today. So I want you to just, stay with me and hear me out. So, as I said, motivation is something that maybe you're struggling with, and that doesn't exactly make you special because a lot of people struggle to stay motivated. Okay, so don't get too down on yourself if your motivation is waning a bit. Now, with that said, there is one big idea that I have found works for me. Now, I'm not going to tell you immediately what that is. First, let me just explain what happened to me recently on my little vacation to the United States. So I just got back a couple of weeks ago from the United States. And I'm not going to say who it was, but basically I was having a discussion with someone I know. And I had not seen them in a long time. They had not seen me in a long time. And it was nice and cordial. But at some point, they kind of looked me up and down. And, this person asked, well, how do you stay motivated to keep training? Or in their words, to keep working out, basically. And I thought about for a second, not too long, because I kind of, have a ready-made answer for that. But I thought about it for a second, and the first thing that came to mind was an idea that I presented in the book that I wrote. But the second thing that came to mind was actually a slightly better idea, and this is what I explained to them. I said, I stay motivated to train and stay on top of my health and, to try to eat well and be attentive to my diet because I believe that I deserve more. And, the person kind of looked at me expecting more of an explanation. I picked up on the cue. And I think what they were wondering was, when you say you deserve more, what does that mean? Okay. So I just went on to explain that, at Bounce Pep, this idea of you deserving more is very, very important to keep you motivated. And that's the big idea that I actually want to share with you today is that you can keep yourself motivated simply with the belief that you deserve more. Now, again, what exactly does that mean? Because that can be interpreted a few different ways. And I don't want you to misinterpret what I mean. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that you deserving more, because I believe that you deserve more, you deserving more is not because you inherently deserve more. That's not what it's about at all. In other words, you don't deserve more just because. That's not the way it works. Okay? So there's a there are a couple reasons why it would be true that you deserve more and why you would be justified in having that belief about yourself. And that's the belief that I have about myself, and that is the belief that motivates me pretty consistently to stay on top of my training and to stay on top of my work and to stay on top of everything else that I have going on, right? So, what are these two things? Well, the number one thing is this. You deserve more because you're willing to do more. And the number two thing is this. You deserve more because you're willing to do differently. Now, it can be either or, it can be both of those things. Okay? But remember what I said a few moments ago. You don't deserve more just because. That is not the way that life works. You deserve more either because you're willing to do more or because you're willing to do differently. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. What do each of those two things mean? If you believe that you deserve more because you're willing to do more, then what it means is that you're willing to do more than most people are willing to do to get to your aspirations or to bring your aspirations closer to becoming a reality, to fruition, so to speak. Okay. So a lot of times what we see in life is that people know what they should be doing, and most people just don't do those things consistently. And so they just stuck they get stuck in mediocrity. Right? It makes sense, right? If you're doing just enough or not enough, then you're going to be mired in mediocrity. That's not in and of itself a bad thing. I mean, it's just being average. Okay. But when you believe that you deserve more and you're willing to do more because of it, what it means is that you're willing to do perhaps the same things that other people are doing, but you're doing it more consistently, more fervently, more often. You're simply putting in more time and effort into it. And so that's why you're able to realize superior outcomes in your life. Okay, because you're willing to do more. So the idea that you deserve more requires that you believe also, and not only believe, but that you follow through on the belief that you are also willing to do more. Now, with that said, there was a part two, right? Let's say it's not necessarily more, it's that you're willing to do differently, because this is a different way of approaching it. So think of it like this. At one point in history, the fastest way that people had to get around was the horse and buggy. And people did that for a long time and it worked. It got people from point A to point B. Okay. And then Daimler comes along. I'm talking about Daimler Benz. They come along and they say, we're going to invent the car. Now, the car was obviously, or the automobiles they would call it, was obviously not the horse and buggy. And it was a completely different way of getting from point A to point B. And ultimately, it proved to be a superior way. And that's why we no longer use horses and buggies to get around. Very, very few people do that in the world now, right? So that's the idea behind doing differently, is that sometimes you don't necessarily have to do more. You can just do something differently than what everyone else is doing. And that will lead you to achieve better results, better outcomes for yourself. That requires thinking outside the box and being willing to go in a different direction, basically. Sometimes it won't make sense to other people because a lot of times people are really fixated on convention and what's always worked. But one approach that you can take is just to look for a different way. Do it your own way. Do something differently. Do something that nobody is courageous enough to do. Okay, you might fail, you might succeed, but there is a certain beauty in doing it your own way, doing it differently. Okay, so this is another requirement. Now, again, I said it's either or. Okay, there are two different approaches, right? You believe that you deserve more. You can either be willing to do more, or you can either be willing to do differently. But those are basically your two options. And when you believe that you deserve more, the bottom line is that you're going to have kind of an eternal motivation. It's always lighting your fire, okay? Because you always believe that there's just something more for you. And all you have to do is go and get it. It's up to you to go and get it, right? And this is how I live. This is what I believe. It's up to me to go and get it. But I believe that I deserve more. And so that drives me. I'm willing to do more. Sometimes maybe I'm willing to do something differently. But bottom line is, I believe that I deserve more. And so that's why I'll pursue more. Okay. And so you have to really embed this belief into your psyche and into your soul. I want you to really drill it into your psyche, drill it into your soul. Okay. Don't just think it. You need to believe it. Okay. It's not a thought, it's a belief. A thought is fleeting. Your thoughts could change from moment to moment, but a belief is something it's in the core of you. It does not change from moment to moment or day to day. Like, it's embedded in you. So I want you to embed this belief that you deserve more into your soul. Okay. And it'll be, like I said, like an eternal flame burning inside of you, motivating you on a daily basis. Okay. Now, I'm going back to the United States. I didn't give the person this long winded answer like I'm giving you here. But the gist of what I explained to them is what I just told you. Okay. Much shorter, condensed version, but that's basically what I told them. And I believe that this is true, and it can be true for you. It's true for me. It works for me. It can work for you. Okay. So deserving more is about seeing more for yourself. Seeing like something just beyond the average and the ordinary, just beyond what everybody else is getting, right? You don't have to do anything special or be anything special to get what everybody else is getting. Right? But if you're willing to do more or do differently, then yeah, you do deserve more, right? Because you're putting in the work. You're putting in the work to have more and to enjoy more and to experience more. I want to talk to you on a side note about this idea of experiences. Now, I've been speaking more about this recently. If you've seen some of my more recent videos, you've probably noticed that I mentioned experiences more. And it's because experiences are so important. When you work with me, it's not just like a personal development program, it's a personal development experience. People say, well, why should I go all the way to Japan, to work on, you know, my purpose in life and my focus and my follow through? Why should I actually go all the way to Japan to do that? And I said, well, because, anybody can offer you a program and have you come in and give you some reading materials and sit down and do some kind of psychoanalysis and all that kind of stuff. But that's not an experience, right? When you come and you get on that plane, you make the trip to Japan, you come here and sit down with me and we start talking and we start bouncing ideas back and forth. Okay. And we start getting down to the bottom of things, you know, what's holding you back, what can propel you forward, what you should be focusing on in the first place, things like that. And you're doing it in a brand new environment and an unfamiliar environment and a stimulating environment. You see, that's an experience, right? So there's great value in having experiences in your life. You know, your life is changed by experiences, okay? Not by programs, by experiences. Now, I want you to always remember that and value having experiences. Like, seek to have experiences in your life, whether it's with Bounce Pep or anywhere else. You know, this idea of having experiences change your life. Okay. So I want to leave you with that final idea. And again, just remember that you deserve more. If you ever get down on yourself, if you ever feel like you're losing that motivation, remind yourself, wait. Say to yourself, I deserve more. Okay. That's going to pick you up. It's going to make you more willing to keep doing what you're doing, keep doing more, keep doing something different, like I said. You get out there and you make it happen. So I want you to take this with you. Talk to you next time.